Bill Cunningham, the great American. There are things happening in America that are not well reported, but nonetheless we know to be accurate. Sometimes the earth's moving beneath your feet, and you can't feel it because your vision and focus is elsewhere. D.S. Edwards, author of the new book, Collective Retribution, about this important issue, immigration, and how Americans can sift through the hype and propaganda to learn what the impact on their family and future generations could be. And D.S. Edwards, welcome to the Bill Cunningham Show.
Hey, Billy, how you doing?
Should I call you DS, or D?
DS is fantastic.
DS. You wrote the book Collective Retribution. Why?
You know, it was written based on a family's personal tragedy. We had personal experience with an illegal who had been deported a few times and came back and murdered one of our family members. So, you know, I wrote it as a way to make a difference. It's a fictional novel. It's a fictional story, but I call it prophetic fiction. It's where we're headed if we don't fix some things.
You know, a week ago, it was not covered by the mainstream media, of course, but a week ago, House Republicans did several hearings on the impact of illegal immigration in America. And all of us are in favor, I would assume you too, DS, are in favor of legal immigration with an orderly system because we are a nation of immigrants, but we're not a nation of illegal immigrants. And this panel dealt with murder after murder, rape after rape of children, women, men, deputy sheriffs being slaughtered by illegal immigration. And it went on and on and on, but the mainstream media didn't cover it. Why?
You know, they're not going to cover it. It doesn't fit the narrative, and at the end of the day, it's a lot of times it's about particular voting block for one party or the other. But really, it's not even about that. It's not about that or the poor oppressed families or the fact that we're a nation built on immigrants. What it's about is, at the end of the day, if we don't secure our borders, particularly the southern border with the criminal infrastructure down there with the cartels, if we don't secure our borders, it's not if we have an attack on U.S. soil of massive proportions, be it nuclear weapons thanks to a soon-to-be nuclear-armed Iran. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it happens, unless we secure and shore up that border. Does
this president have any desire or motive to actually secure the southern border and follow his oath of office?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I wholeheartedly believe he could care less about securing that border because it does mean more members in Organizing for Action. It means more members in Obama for America. It means more voting block for his particular party and his particular philosophy of politics.
And I'm watching the other night, the O'Reilly Factor, and he had on, might have been Hannity, one or the other, the head of the union that's in charge of Border Patrol agents. And he told story after story about federal employees told by their superiors not to guard the southern border and to release those they arrest. Describe what is happening today, tonight on the southern border.
On the southern border today, people will come across that border. There will be criminals that come across that border. It's not a conjecture. It's not a theory. It's true. There will be criminals coming across that border, and there will be Border Patrol agents who witness things that will do nothing about it. We have really got to secure that border. Like I said, especially with a nuclear-armed Iran. I mean, for crying out loud, we're not even sharing intelligence anymore with the Israeli intelligence department on Iran's nuclear program. We're in big trouble.
Let's go back to your book. You have some statistics in the book. 60% of Americans say there should be a path to citizenship for illegal immigrants. You may put me in that category because I think the 11 or 12 million here, if they get to the back of the line, pay a fine, which is like almost a conviction, and we know who they are, they get an ID card or whatever. I don't have a problem with that because we're not going to deport them anyway. But you can't do that as long as right now, as we speak, every year, hundreds of thousands of illegals are coming into this country to beat that moment. Now the word is all over Central America, Asia, and Europe. If you get here now, you're going to be okay. So the first thing to do is to secure the southern border, but that cannot be done as long as you have a chief executive officer refusing to do it, right?
Absolutely. And first of all, the statistics aren't actually in the book. Like I said, it's a fictional novel. Those statistics actually came from a study done by the American Religious Institute. And you know how surveys can be skewed. They say 60% want a path to citizenship. Well, it depends on the question they ask.
It does.
It depends on whether it was rural or urban or, conservative or progressive. So things can be skewed. But like I said, I think the main issue for me is the security of that southern border. And I love immigrants. I mean, we were built on the backs of immigrants, but we can't have an open border like that and not expect to have danger come across that border.
When the FBI director about a week ago gave an interview, he talked about 50 states having ISIS participation. Here in Cincinnati, we had Christopher Cornell. That's been great, big local news about him joining ISIS. And he joined ISIS out of Green Township, a little section of Cincinnati, Hamilton County. And there's lots of homegrown terrorists that are simply online getting indoctrinated with hate from ISIS. But in addition to that, how easy would it be for a cadre of ISIS members to get to Istanbul, Turkey, to go to Paris or London, then to fly to Mexico City, and then to come across the southern border with no documents? How easy would that be?
Oh, it'd be super easy. There'd be nothing to stop them. I even think it could be, the path could be a cargo ship, like I write about in Collective Retribution. I mean, these weapons of mass destruction, these nuclear weapons, come across the ocean on a cargo ship into Guillermo's, Mexico, and they're brought across the southern border through the drug cartel tunnels, and America's, pretty much collapsed, pretty much brought to the ground. So it's not if it happens, it's when. We've got to secure that southern border. That's all there is to it.
But the president refuses to do it, and the next election, it would make sense to me for the Republican, whoever that person is, to make that the only issue in the 2016 campaign, because that issue affects so many others, including employment. One of the main reasons the last several years there's been no gain in wages by the middle class is that there's a downward pressure on wages by illegal immigration at the bottom. And I think most Americans understand that, but this president doesn't. And that group of Americans most affected by his policies are African Americans who have watched their income plummet under Obama because of his policies, but because of his race, they ignore it.
Oh, it would be wonderful to see a Republican run on something and actually have a backbone. I'm a little nervous about the lack thereof of backbone in the Republican Party right now in the GOP leadership, so I don't know if anybody will run on that. I don't know if they've given up and thrown their hands in the air and said, well, we're just going to, change, fundamentally transform America like the president said when he was running for office the first time. I don't know. It seems like they've given up.
Well, he is a transformational president, no question about that. Well, what do you see in 20 or 30 years, assuming Obama continues on this path the next year and 10 months, which is extremely likely, and assuming Hillary Clinton wins the presidency in 2016, and that goes on 8 years, think about America 10 or 20 years from now with open southern borders. What will America look like?
It won't be the same country, and that's if America survives that long. Like I said, I really firmly believe, which is why I wrote the book, that if we don't secure that border, it's not going to be an America that looks anything like it does today. I mean, we're talking, no electric grid, we're talking, mass chaos. It would not be that difficult to completely wipe out the American infrastructure with weapons of mass destruction coming across that southern border. I mean, the technology's there.
Is America too big to fail?
No.
How about, was Rome too big to fail? Was Egypt? Was Greece? Was Spain too big to fail? Was England too big to fail in the 17 and 1800s? Were they too big?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we can fail if we destroy ourselves. Lincoln, I have a quote in my book from Lincoln. It talks about if America falters, if we lose our way, if we're destroyed, it's not going to be from without. It's going to be from within. It's going to be because we destroyed ourselves, and that's exactly what we're doing. And people don't understand. People aren't even paying attention anymore. There was a story in the L.A. Times the other day. The recent L.A. County Commission election that just happened, do you realize there was 10% voter turnout in that city council election? 10%. That's astounding. I mean, the uninformed electorate really drives policy in America. Those who are uninformed, those who don't know the issues, those who have no clue what's going on, those are the people going to the polls and voting because they heard a slogan or they belong to a group and they got fed propaganda. That's very, very scary to me.
And DS, the other thing is we thought we voted for change in 2014. Obama's policies were on the ballot. He said it. We believed it. So massive Americans came out in 2014 and said enough is enough, gave the Republicans the greatest congressional victory in 100 years. And what's happened the past 90 days?
The Republicans have, it seems to me, and this is I'm just an average American who happened to write a book. I'm not a, sharp great American radio hosts like you, so I'm not sure, but it seems to me that the Republicans are caving, that they're losing their spine, they're losing their backbone. It seems like they've forgotten why they were put into, why they control the House and the Senate now. It's very scary to me.
Well, why should normal people vote when it doesn't make any difference?
That is the million-dollar question, absolute million-dollar question. I think education is key. We've got to inform people. People need to know. And it's not, it's not the news media that's going to do it. It's you, it's me, it's everyone else in the marketplace, in the grocery store line, in our place of work. We've got to start speaking out. We can't be what Thomas Paine warned against. We can't be sunshine patriots. He wrote in the book Crisis, which came out after Common Sense, about the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot. We have to be patriots all the time. We can't just be patriots when it's convenient and not uncomfortable. We have to do it all the time.
ISIS, Iran, whatever you want to say, the Russians want to destroy America. We have given them the avenues to do it through the southern border. And to bring down this country to its knees would take one nuclear device set off in Kansas City. It would take 100 attacks on 100 malls on one sunny Sunday afternoon. It would take the explosion at several nuclear power plants. All those things happening, either one or all those things simultaneously. What then happens to the American economy?
Well, the American economy's done. I mean, there's no. Well, if you look at it this way, that would completely collapse America. But we're collapsing America anyway. If you look at it this way, I like to say, I got this from a really good friend of mine who's a legislator. He said there's two major problems with the main political parties. The Republicans have a messaging problem, and the Democrats have a math problem. Mathematically impossible to not have a collapsed dollar, considering what they've done to the dollar, what they've done to monetizing our debt, what they've done to the deficit. It's mathematically impossible. So the Democrats have a math problem, and the Republicans have a messaging problem. We always have trouble articulating the message and why conservatism is the right way to go. We've never been able to articulate that correctly.
Well, to go to the math problem, the numbers, many Americans don't know the difference between millions, billions, and trillions. Most Americans cannot give you an answer to that question. If you would ask most Americans, what is $1 million, what is $1 billion, and what is $1 trillion, you don't get an answer that makes any sense. We owe currently a little north of $18 trillion in debt. So to pay off that debt, the only way to do it is to print trillions of dollars of more money to jump into the economy, which lessens the value of every dollar that we have. And what it means is each dollar is worth less. That's why the commodity prices are going up, because it takes more dollars to buy something, because there's so many more dollars around. And so you take the debt forward, according to the Congressional Budget Office, which is nonpartisan. The $30 trillion level of the national debt will be exceeded in the next 15 years. And if you listen to the CBO, the unfunded liabilities of this country are over $100 trillion. That is non-survivable. We cannot survive as a nation. So the Democrats want to keep telling you we can keep spending money on items and they have no money to pay for it because we're going to print more dollars. But when you print more dollars, every dollar you have is worth less in your pocket because there's more of them. And if it's worth less, it takes more to buy something. And so the Democrats have a terrible math problem. And the Republican substance, the conservative libertarian substance, is pretty good, but they don't have the emotional connection of an Obama or a Clinton to sell their policies.
No, and they don't have the infrastructure that, I mean, let's face it, the Democrat Party has been brilliant in using social media, using, little sound bites. I mean, it does help that they've got 99% of the national media in their pocket doing their bidding for them, but they've been very successful in reaching those who are only reachable through electronic means, and the Republican Party has really failed on that. And I don't know if it's a leadership within the party. I don't know if Ryan Previs is the right guy. I don't know what it is. But it's got to be fixed, because I honestly don't think we can survive. I don't know if we're done as a nation. I hope not. But good Lord, I'm throwing my hands up. I don't know what to do, just short of writing a book and hoping to wake people up with it.
Well, DS, if I'll give you an example, when I was involved shortly and briefly in 2008, there were rallies back to back with John McCain in Cincinnati, Ohio, and then Barack Hussein Obama at the University of Cincinnati. One was on a Tuesday, one was on a Wednesday. I was asked to introduce Senator John McCain, which I did, caught serious flack for it. But I was told by the chairman of the Republican Party at that point, we have to hold the rally in Memorial Hall, which holds about 200, because the national media is going to be there, and we got to make sure it's a big crowd of at least 200 people. The media is going to report nobody shows up. 1 hour ahead of time, there were 50 people there, and it was a panic mode. So they started calling around to clerks' offices, women's clubs. You got to come down here to see John McCain, because this was like in, I don't know, April or May of '08, and it's going to look bad for the national media if nobody's there. And so they were almost able to fill up a 200-seat arena, largely with those who were told they had to go. The next day, Senator Barack Hussein Obama was at the University of Cincinnati Arena. It seats about 14,000 people. They had 14,000 people there, and they had lines out the door, and they couldn't get in. And I knew right then, I said, man, the Democrats have it. It's over. And then the economy collapsed in September and October. Then it was really over. And so you're exactly correct. We got major, major, major problems. And if you would say right now, Obama's going to appear in this location, and the next day, Boehner's going to appear in that location, you couldn't get enough people to fill a phone booth to go listen to John Boehner say anything.
I agree 100%. Absolutely.
We need Ronald Reagan back.
Oh, my gosh. You know, what happened to peace through strength? You know, are you tired as I am of this drum circle diplomacy? That's what I call it, drum circle diplomacy. I mean, if we bring James Taylor along and we all sit around and have a drum circle together, then the world will be a beautiful place and unicorns are going to fly again. I don't understand this form of diplomacy. Frankly, it scares me to death.
All right, D.S. Edwards, we have to run. The name of the book is Collective Retribution. D.S. Edwards, you're a great American, and thanks for coming on the Bill Cunningham Show.
Thank you very much. And if anybody wants to continue the conversation, they can follow me on Twitter at D.S. Edwards Author. They can buy the book Collective Retribution or go to the website dsedwardsbooks.com, and I try and answer every email personally.
D.S. Edwards, thank you very much. You're a man lighting a candle in the darkness, and may it glow brighter.
God bless.
And God bless America. Thank you.